Welcome to Tales from the Golden Imp. I am Joe Craig, the Impish Skald. In this episode, does Jaina wake up? What is the representative from Devolton in Durg about? Do the gates of Port Skara shut in time? Does Meg make it into the tunnel? Where are the goblins? Many of these questions are answered, and more, in this episode of the Calmbringer Cycle. Welcome to Tales from the Golden Imp. Episode 15, Devolton Comes Calling, Part 2.
So you see the situation you are in. We have the Lord of Durg, and the only way that you will get him back is an unconditional surrender. Do we have an understanding here? The man in purple and black robes was speaking to Frue Burduli. Frue Burduli then rose from the throne of her husband. You demand to me to open the gates that were closed because your attack, and allow your forces to enter and take control of my city. And you think the life of my husband means more to me than my oaths, sworn by myself and my husband, to support the people of the city? As it stands, we have no proof of your claims. I will certainly not surrender before the situation is as dire as you make it out to be. I love my husband, but I cannot sacrifice a city and all the power held within to the enemy of the nation of Eldos. It would be a betrayal to everything we stand for. Be glad that you are an emissary, for you will leave here with your head. Durg will not bend a knee. Now consider us under siege if what you say is true. You may leave now. Burduli returned to her throne. The emissary of Devolton gave a smile and bow. So be it. We tried to save the suffering of your people. With that said, the emissary and the guards exited the chamber, passing Lahti. After the chamber door shut behind Lahti, Frue Burduli's eyes landed on her. What wonderful news do you have to share that sends you rushing into the chamber unannounced? Lahti was still glistening from sweat from a run that got her here from the West Barracks. Frue Burduli, I've come into information to validate some of the claims presented here by the emissary of Devolton. I have word that Devolton ships have been sighted in Port Skara, and some of the scouts that were put into place have detected movement from the western caves. I was coming to request that the forces of Durg be mobilized to face these threats, but that seems beyond us now. How can my forces be of service? You came here warning us of impending dangers. We, my husband and I, ignored your claims, thinking them impossible. You tried to prevent what has transpired thus far. Tell me what you know and what you suspect. Apologies for not hearing you out sooner. Jarl Burduli can be stubborn, even for a dwarf. Durf, get us some ale. We ladies need to talk. Frue Burduli motioned to the dwarf standing at the left side of the dais. With a bow, the young dwarf retreated behind him to a door and returned a bit later with 2 mugs of a small barrel on a platter. He offered the platter towards Frue Burduli, who took a mug and repeated the process for Commander Lahti. Lahti took a drink of the ice-cold ale, giving her time to gather herself and her thoughts. After taking a moment, she began. I shall start with what brought us here to begin with. We were chasing a massive horde of goblins that were heading along the road that becomes the western road here at Durg. Those goblins are still in the wind, but I fear they will not be for much longer. I suspect the play with them is to compromise one avenue of siege to allow military forces into the city. I do not know the defenses of Durg as well as I would like, but they are formidable. But like any system of control, there are weaknesses. This whole system depends on keeping the threats outside the walls. With that said, since coming here, and using what connections I have been able to garner, I have learned quite a bit about the weaknesses of the city that take manpower to counteract in a lot of ways. The Western Gate, for instance. It can be held with minimum number of soldiers, but with enough force, the gates can and will be opened through the windows that serve as arrow slits. Should a horde of goblins splash against those walls, eventually they will gain access to those windows, and thus to the towers attached. That will lead to the fortifications being opened. However, if you had manpower beyond what could defend the arrow slits, that could be mitigated. With those gates, there are ramparts back 100 yards beyond the gates themselves that you could station archers from to deal with the army as it floods into the hold there should the gates fall. Then there is the news that I learned about true connections I got here. The main gates to shut Durg to the outside world are the gates at Port Skara and Keevestown, which haven't been closed in a very long time. I mean to say there are reports of bird nests and such at those gates. So now I hear reports that Dvalten is attacking from the north, from the northern port of Port Skara, with little to no defense there. I know you have forces in the city, but they need to mobilize if they're going to save the city. Dandros has allies coming from the north as well. If they make it in time, they will have first-hand information for us. But this is what I know. There is much I can speculate on, but this is what I know to be fact. Lahti concluded with another drink of ale. It was certainly a fine ale. It was an incredible blend that she quite enjoyed. But as she lowered her mug to take a look back to Frue Burduli, she was greeted with a wave of concern. Burduli was wearing a blue dress today which matched her eyes quite well. Her blue eyes were showing concern as she rose from the throne and began to walk around the dais. Okay, so what do you need to shore up the western flank? We may have lost the north already, but we need to send some forces to see how it fares. The south we are blind at this point, from the information that you and I have. Morning caravans out of have arrived from Keevestown with no reports of that sorts. The ambassador from Dvalten had claims that they had my husband and had secured Keevestown and Port Skara. I did receive a letter from Turfrid yesterday, informing me that he was on the way home. He was not pleased with the results of the council meetings and was coming home early. They have voted to stand up a military once more. He should have been home by now. That was another claim from the Dvaltens. They have him. Oli, I need a few more people for my meeting. Can you fetch for me? I need Master Fingus, Criff, Tyr, and Clement. With the list gathered, she was ready to sit down another moment when Lahti spoke up. Criff is heading towards Port Skara to determine the fate of the gate. I spoke to him on the way. Apparently he heard rumors as well. Half true was better than an outright lie. Burduli turned to Lahti. You have been quite an engineer, haven't you? Feeling the compliment, Lahti's cheeks reddened. I try, Frue. Frue Burduli nodded. Well, let us hear from the Dandros as well. Go fetch him if you would, please. Yes, Frue. It is all Lahti had to say. Hold the left gate! Hold the left gate! We have to hold off until we get as many people from the city in here. Regos shouted to the people that were manning the wheel that controlled the gates of Port Skara. He was standing at the gap, watching as the military of Devolton continued to march toward the walls. Arrows were coming in volleys now. The city was in flames, making the skies dark with smoke. The bloodbath was underway, but they had to save who and what they could. Regos saw that there was a group of children running from the right side of the field. They were running towards the gate with all their little small feet could muster. The volley of arrows bounced off the walls, and screams of those that were struck outside the walls echoed into the tunnels. Many people turned with horrified looks upon their faces. Regos was screaming to those outside to get in. But the gap being so narrow, people were starting to get trampled. The archers were reloading, and the people were panicking now. The marching soldiers continued to cut down those that they could, those that could not keep ahead of them. The people were starting to pile up at the wall. The group of children would never make it past the adults in time. This plucked Regos' heartstrings. But what could he do? If he opened the gates, they ran risk of allowing Devolton access to the tunnels, and that would mean death for everyone. Before Regos could make a decision, a solution was provided by a wizard from Devolton, in the form of a ball of flame aimed for the gap in the door. The massive explosion erupted in all directions. Regos dived to the ground, but the screams would live in his head forever. With the power of the explosion, people were knocked to the ground. As he stood up and looked out the gap, he saw the children running headlong towards the gap in the door. One of the girls tripped before she could hit the ground. Someone running from the same field snatched up the girl. Regos screaming, "No!" thinking it was someone from Devolton that grabbed the girl. The girls made it through the gap in the door, making the decision that was enough. Close the gates! Everyone else is lost to us. Close the gates. As the gates began to move closed again, the last few people started coming through, including the small children. This last figure that was holding the fell child. This figure slid through the door at the last moment, her hijab being caught up in the door, showing her brilliant red hair once again. Meg! You made it! Regos shouted, helping her off the ground. Meg was covered in such blood and soot that Regos didn't recognize her at first. The hijab stuck in the door was there, and there was no opening to get it back out. Rictus and his family brought over a large timber that was designed to fit the braces of the gate. It dropped with a finality. As it did, you could hear crying from inside, from the people that had loved ones on the outside of the gate. There were people finding their loved ones as well, with tears of joy. Regos was looking at Meg, not surprised that she made it, but surprised at how worried he was about her. He hadn't felt like that about anyone in a while, and now he felt this way about Meg as well as Jaina. He also found himself wondering about the fate of Dandros. Screams at the gate and sound of another fireball hitting the wall snapped him out of his reverence. So glad you made it. Jaina, Holly, and Squeaky are heading to Durg. I've got the lad that was guarding the gate to run ahead and get support here. We need to get people moving to Durg, Regos said while helping Meg to her feet. Meg looked worse for wear. Blood stained her robes that she was wearing. Some of the cuts were cutting into her modesty, so
Regos dug into his pack and pulled out a traveling robe that he had in there, offering it to her to cover herself. Meg took the robe and wrapped herself in it.
Thank you so much. Oh, so Holly is leading herself, or do you have someone leading her?
The sound of death still sounded beyond the wall, but thankfully it was muffled by the thickness of stone of the doors themselves. That's when Regos noted something about the doors. After the timber was put in place, several runes began to glow. Regos had to take a closer look at the runes. They were arcane in nature, but the formula that was used was foreign to him. While Regos stared at the runes, Meg glanced at the wall.
What are you staring at, Regos?
Hope. These doors are fortified with arcane magic. But one thing is certain. We are now under siege from the north. We have to get to Durg and get them in motion. Let's go, Meg. It's been a long day and it's only noon by my guess. Many of the souls were at the gates themselves, weeping for the lost. They needed to mourn. Getting the main body moving towards Durg was the goal. Sadness would take a few survivors. There was nothing that could be done about that. Necropus will be busy today. Greetings, Dandros. I am so glad to meet you. These words were spoken by Master Corey Melchior, who was an aging human with a long beard and small spectacles. He was wearing a red and golden robe with a wide black leather belt. Master Fingus has told me much about you in the past couple of days. From his musings, I have much hope for you. Master Fingus handed Master Melchior the bone sword that Dandros had made.
He made this amongst few other weapons. I believe our suspicions is to be true.
Dandros gave a bow of respect for the hand of Beldon. Something beyond a master. Though master is still the honorable title.
No need for that, Master Dandros. I think we are beyond all that now, sir. This work is of a master craftsman.
No, sir. I am no master craftsman. I'm a journeyman at best. This was just a bit of fun. I'd made it for a fallen friend. He would have loved one of the goblin made out of goblin. But alas, he crossed Necropus' gate. Dandros seeming a bit shy about the praise. It was good work in his eyes, but not something he considered masterful. The fact that you honed it in such a way it will hold an edge, with a presentation that is pleasing to the eye, is masterful work. I understand that you're struggling with your faith a bit, however. Is that still true? Master Melchior continued to look over the sword, but eyed Dandros now. I feel as if I have lost my direction. I was a stone crafter, but I feel I have not lived up to that role since becoming a miner. Taking from the earth in the way that I was felt wrong to me. But I shoved those feelings to the side. Since I have felt that Beldon was not pleased with me, but not in such a way that I could not heal. Master Melchior smiled.
That is not uncommon for those that the calling changes. I feel that it is true with you. I would like to spend a couple of days with you and test you in ways that you have not been tested prior. I want to see if you could be a Vorsmith. I want you to be open-minded to the approach.
Dandros was silent for a moment, but had to ask the question that had been plaguing him. I've heard Master Fingus mention this before, but what is a Warsmith? He tried to explain it to me, but seemed to be at loss on the details.
It's not a surprise to me. It is a dying, nearly lost art. We have not trained a Warsmith in nearly a full age. They were popular during the end of the Dark Days, throughout different periods of history. But we have not had one in my lifetime. A warsmith is someone that can make weapons and armor from things that would be found in the battlefield. It is one of the main aspects of a warsmith, but not the only one. They are healers and combatants typically. They are a people that end up in some of the most violent areas of war. Beldon guides them in the art of combat and the art of warfare. Warsmiths end up being some of the advisors to the most powerful military minds that Callisto faced, and even Callisto himself. The war was not as cut and dry as everyone liked to believe. Callisto had loyal followers, and he had the sway of the Myrtle Mountains. Regardless of the stance with Callisto, the warsmiths were crucial to his success as well as his defeat. The weapons that the Bringers of the Calm carried with them were all forged by warsmiths. Well, one warsmith was my ancestor Vincent Melchior. It is through him, and my fathers after him, that the knowledge I possess was carried down. In fact, I carry to this day the Master's journal that he carried. I will know in 2 days if it should be handed down to you. It is one of the last journals to the warsmiths that do not rest in the archives, but you will have little time to read if we are to get things done that we need to get done. Are you prepared? Is there anything that your mind will not allow you to let go of that needs handled before we move forward? Melchior concluded, handing Dandros the hilt of the bone sword that he crafted. Taking the sword, only one thing: there is trouble coming to Durg that we need to be ready for. I am unaware of Commander Lahti. Lahti has been successful where I had failed. A goblin army is on the way to Durg as we speak. If I know that this has been prepared for, I could focus fully on my studies. Melchior laughed. A warsmith focuses on the war ahead, of course. Word has reached me that preparations are underway. So no need to worry your mind with that. Let us see if you are a warsmith. Though the signs are pointed to the positive in that regard. Commander Lahti was getting ready to leave the chamber of Frue at Burduli when the guards burst into the room.
Frue! We have refugees coming from the south. Some of them are badly wounded. Reports of not only goblins, but a massive black dragon struck Keithstown.
Well, it would seem we have found your goblins, Commander. What is the state of Keithstown from the reports that we have for Burduli, with a wave of calmness in the situation?
Esmine, the damage reports are great. Keithstown was a small city, as the damages from the dragons are extreme. Many were fleeing to the cave and ran into goblins that had taken the tower fortifications around the gates of Keithstown. The gates have been lost. The city is all but destroyed.
The guard was catching his breath from his running. Friar Burduli, still showing the calm of leadership, called to the chamber guards.
Get General Svendorf to assemble the guard and pulls them all in. I will be speaking to the guard in half an hour. It seems we will be having a long night, ladies and gentlemen. We are indeed under attack from the Vultan. Lahti, I don't think we will need Dandros at the moment, but it would be useful to know where he is in case we need his knowledge. Last I saw him, he was with Master Fingus. Check the temple for him while I give orders to the soldiers. In the meantime, I need a full report. If you have left anything out, I need to know it now.
In the next half hour, Frue Burduli refreshed herself and gathered information she could,
from Commander Lahti, her advisors, and those in Durg that dealt in rumors and whispers. She was furious by the end of it, though she hid it well. Her husband had ignored many warnings that would have given them a chance to avoid this damage. It was too late now. They were in the middle of an attack. She had to focus on the actions needed. She went over the information she had once again. As she walked to the square in front of the barracks and rose up the command dais there, in front of her she faced a small army that they maintained over the years. Gathered in that square was just shy of 2,000 soldiers that were called the Guard of Durg. They served primarily as a police force, but they were the army they had. They were missing a division, her Grim division, but they were headed in the right direction. Frue Burduli looked over them, knowing that many of them would be dead in a month. War was something they were not prepared for, no matter what they claimed.
Children of Durg, I am here with grave news. We are under attack from the north and the south. We need to act swiftly to ensure our defenses are stood up and manned. Just this day, a representative from Devolton came to me with grave news prior to this assault. The man claimed that my husband and your Jarl was taken hostage in Kheasurid.
She had to silence the crowd on this note and continued.
There is more since reports that have come to me that ships were seen in the Iflow Canal flying the flags at Devolton. We have reason to believe that Port Skara is under assault as we speak. If this information is not bad enough, we have further reports from Kheasurid that they have suffered not only a dragon attack, but from a great black dragon, but also an assault by a goblin army. This army has taken the gates to Kheasurid. As we talk, refugees are arriving to the city, seeking shelter from the storm. It is time that we call upon you to do the duty you are sworn to uphold. Durg is under siege. You are the last line of defense, and we call upon you to do the duties that you have been sworn to do. Commanders, you have your orders. Half of you will be heading to the south to retake our gates to Kheasurid and set up an outpost there. A quarter of you will be heading north to set up an outpost there and ensure our gates are secure. The rest of you will keep peace in the city. These are dire times until my husband is found and returned to his feet. I will be acting as the leader of Durg. I will send for aid from our neighbors. In the meantime, we must ensure that our provisions are secure. Tight watches on food and water supplies are imperative. I cherish each and every one of you. Do me the justice of service. May Beldon guide us and keep us secure, as he has for over 3,000 years. My soldiers, what is your craft?
At the last, she thrust her hand in the sky to ask the question. A thunderous response came from the soldiers, of warriors of Durg. With that, the lines of soldiers began to march from the square, following the assignments from the commanding officers for each division. The steps of each soldier was deafening. The thud of boots and the clank of metal plates. These mostly short warriors made a show of their leaving. Upon reaching the exit of the square, they were greeted by Master Fingus Prattle, praying over them as they crossed under the archway in which he was standing. Master Fingus's voice carried over the metal and the leather. It was a prayer to Beldon for the safety of the soldiers and the safety of the city. For Devolton, all was going to plan, well, mostly. They had planned on taking both the northern and southern gates that were the entrances to the great city of Durg. But they had and held one of the two. They were prepared for issues with the northern gate. Armed with picks, hammers, and chisels, the soldiers set to work on the great door.
They would mine their way into the tunnels if they had to. Their great ships were still unloading, but the city of Port Skara was under their control. The blockade would be in place by nightfall. The hammer was poised to strike the city of Durg. Then there was the amount of destruction in Keevestown. It was truly amazing the amount of destruction one adult dragon lay to a city unprepared. The military had objectives that they had to complete, and it was time to set action to them. It had been 300 years since Callisto fell, and all that time Kheasurid stood prepared and by his side. The past year, the monster of a red dragonkin called the Dragoons home and started to prepare for this assault. Only the Dragoons knew the full truth of this strike and the importance of its success. Phase 1 was complete. Phase 2 was well underway. Soon, Phase 3 would spell the destruction for the city of Durg. Marching through the soldiers, up at the wall that was the gate of Port Skara, stood a dragoon of significance. Marked with a golden emblem brandished on his red and black enameled plate. This man was standing at 6'8", and he was broad in the shoulders. His helm prevented you from seeing the face beneath. His helm bore horns that you would see atop a dragon's head. But one could not tell if these were from the soldier beneath or the helm itself. With a slithery voice, the man simply asked, "Report." Another dragoon, supervising the work and tending to his warhammer that he carried into battle, stood to attention at the word. He gave a salute of a fist to a chest and a bow of his head and spoke. "Dragoon Kitch, we'll be through the wall by nightfall if the stone is all she bears. We're making good progress. A couple of hours after that, we'll be able to push through with our forces. The wall is manned by civilians, and they have not been able to make use of the defenses of the gates themselves. We still push hard to get through before reinforcements from the city can arrive. There is still a chance we will beat them to the punch, sir."
Very good. Make it faster. Use wizards if we must. I know they are recovering, but we need to secure the towers, and our main full objective is to be successful. Good work on the day, Dragoons. We have a reputation to live up to. Let us bloody our swords, bloody our spears, and let us make our enemies fear us once more. We are more than a myth. We are more than a legend. We are Dragoons.
Kitch let his voice raise as he spoke to ensure all that heard him. Miles beyond this gate, the refugees from Port Skara were beginning to trickle into the city. They had been passed by the Black Fist, that were the grim legion of soldiers wearing black plate armor, led by Criff Voltry. That has sped the pace of the soldiers to get to the wall. But here and now, these men, women, and children were spilling into the city of Durg. Many of them seeing the splendor for the first time. It was like being pulled into the keep of a city. Only this keep was a city. Durg had housing for many of these, but not for all. Frue Burduli will have her hands full indeed. The guards of the city guided the civilians into the market square for start of things, and they would go from there. Under the soft, gentle light of the city of Durg is where Jaina Krist finally awoke. Laying on her back, bumping up and down on stairs, on a litter, was not the best way to wake up, let alone with a small frog staring at you. Jaina was still groggy, not sure if she was awake or still dreaming. The light certainly didn't help the feeling.
Welcome back to the realm of the living, Miss Jaina.
Cryptus be praised. Halis be praised too. We've got you to safety. We are almost done with the bumps, and then we will stop.
These words came from the old lady that was guiding Holly along this long staircase in a strained voice.
Where am I? And who might you be? I don't believe we've met.
Jaina was trying to raise her head to look around, but the stairs made things too bumpy. The rain frog on her didn't like the jostling around, and it squeaked at her. She felt the last few stairs bump under her than the flat ground. Once they were on that flat landing of the stairs, Jaina was able to raise up. She took the small frog with her, not wearing her armor. She felt nude. She was still wearing her small clothes and the battle dress that was made of the blue that was gifted to her by Maris. Small old woman that led the donkey, Holly.
I've met you, but you've not met me, madam. If madam is your preferred. I don't want to make presumptions. Regos and Meg are well. They're behind us a bit. Regos asked me to bring you into Durg to get you to your safety. Can I get you anything?
Taking everything in that the old lady had said.
Could use some food, but I don't want to burden you. You've already done so much for us. And yes, madam is fine, or you can just call me Jaina. You could just point me in the direction of something to eat. What have I missed? How long have I been asleep? Last thing I remember is I was on a ship in the Ice Flow Canal, and now in Durg without my comrades.
With a grin missing several of her teeth.
This be my first time in Durg, Miss Jaina. Let us find some food together, and I'll help fill in your gaps. Cryptus be praised that you'll be on your feet. Necropus nearly had you there for a bit.
That said, the pair went to find some place to fill their bellies. Both women were famished from the road and the events that transpired in Port Skara, though Jaina was still clueless about the attack. They found their way to a pub that was out of the main thoroughfare, that wasn't packed with refugees yet. The sign above the door led you to call the place the Purple Tankard, but there was no name upon the sign. Upon entry into the small pub, they found a couple of seats open at the bar. As they occupied them, Jaina realized how sore she was. The barkeep was a green-skinned goblin.
Hello, ladies. Can I get you something to drink? Our special for today is grilled salmon with thyme rice. We also have a chicken and wild rice soup. Then, as always, we have salted pork, bread and cheese.
Jaina ordered the salmon and rice with a tankard of house ale. The old lady ordered the chicken and wild rice soup with a cup of wine.
All right, Miss Jaina. Let's catch you up a bit. I can't tell you what happened between the ship and meeting your friends at the gates of Port Skara, aside from the attack. That's the main thing you need to know about. Devolton has attacked Port Skara while you were unconscious. That led to the evacuation of Port Skara, and me meeting your friends. Well, one of them at the gate. He was trying to get the gates of Port Skara closed, so I offered to bring you here to Durg. How are they? You mentioned Regos in the story, but didn't mention Meg. How is she?
The old lady not hesitating.
Oh, she'll be fine. Wounded, but just fine. The gods be praised. I didn't see her with my own eyes, but I know she's fine. She was saving what lives she could down in the city while Regos was working on the gates. That's all, dearie. And here we are, ladies. Enjoy the grub, said the goblin barkeep as he delivered the food to them.
The food was hot and steaming. With the salmon, it was required to be cooked and served. Otherwise, it would just be a mess that fell apart. And this salmon was cooked to perfection. Jaina found herself impressed, but famished. And at the end of the day, she would have wished she had savored the salmon a bit more. Looking up from the fish,
I never got your name.
The unstated question pulled the old woman up from her meal as well. Apparently, both of them were quite hungry.
Maggie. Just call me Maggie. Your friends will be here soon, I think.
Maggie was right. It wasn't much later when Regos and Meg found Holly and entered the purple tanker. Jaina was easy to spot, and she was watching the door, so there was a heartfelt hug between Jaina and Regos, and then with Meg. Meg was looking fine, her clothes another story.
Look at you up and about, just in time to miss another contest of might, Regos said with a slight glee in his voice. I hear you skipped out on that one as well, opting for the doors. Jaina retorted with a similar smile. Meg, you alright? You look as if you've seen better days. Meg was wrapped up in Regos' cloak to keep herself modest, something that Regos offered to her. She had a few scrapes here and there, but nothing that couldn't be healed with just a bit of divine healing or just a bit of time. I've been worse. No, just need a bath and a change of clothes. There are others that need divine healing loads more than I do. I'll have a few fresh scars, but that's all. Didn't lose my weapon, so that's good. Thought I did there for a bit, but managed to find the man that I had lent my kukri to. You know if this place has a bath? Or if there's a bathhouse somewhere close by? Meg asked while eyeing the place for the first time. Nope. No baths here, miss. But there'll be baths not too far away. Public baths is 6 blocks west of here. That's right as you heads out here, and then right at the next intersection. You can't miss them. In the meantime, can we get you something to eat or drink? You look washed up from the road. A green-skinned goblin barkeep inserted into the conversation. I could use a pint, my friend. But we'll have to drink and run. Many things to report from the road. I need to make sure the guard did his duty and such. Regos said while striking up a match to light his pipe. Meg chimed in that she'd be back for a pint after a bath. With that, she gathered her bag from Holly and followed the goblin's instruction to the public bath. Upon reaching the public bath, she was greeted with comfort and luxury that she hadn't known for a while. Not since the city of Clist did she find public baths so nice. Meg was greeted with scented soaps, oils for the hair, and even razors for shaves and trims. They even offered up people to do your laundry while you bathed, massages, or even to do the shaving for you. Meg thought to herself, if this is a public bath, I wonder what the private one's offering. She paid for someone to wash her hair for her. Not that she couldn't do it herself, it was just nice to have someone wash her hair for you. If she were going to be exposed, she may as well have nice hair. Meg disrobed and found that the bathhouse even offered someone to stitch wounds for you. She got stitched up and enjoyed a long bath. While she was having her hair washed, just soaking for a bit before the shaving, another woman settled up next to her. Not seen you around in these waters before. What brings you to Derg? First time in Derg. From Port Skara. Just here to enjoy a bath and feel alive once again. Meg trying to be polite to this woman, though her peace was being challenged. Understood, miss. I'm just looking for some news from Port Skara. Could we speak after your bath? The dark-skinned elven woman had her hair pulled up in a tight bun. Her light purple eyes looked over Meg in a way that was polite, but judging at the same time. Seeing those eyes for the briefest of moments. Sure, we can speak. Meg also thought to herself as she would be returning the razor a little late after this conversation. Meg had grown not to trust anyone with purple eyes in a very short amount of time. That conversation would wait, however, until she had her bath and shaved her legs. She was too far from a good shave. Wouldn't set foot anywhere before they were shaved. She would have to restock on a few things in the meantime as well. Derg had it all, at least. After the bath, Meg saw the woman waiting at the exit of the baths for her.
with what looked like a tray of tea on it. Meg approached the woman. The woman was short and slender, petite for an elf. Out of habit, Meg sized her up and was surprised by the fact that she believed this woman was a walking weapon, with just the little moves that she would make and her overall posture. She was walking up to a viper, so she would have to be cautious.
My apologies for interrupting your bath. I hope a little tea would go as a way to ask you for your forgiveness. You look to be from the road, and we are from the north side of Durg, so I was hopeful.
Taking the tea and looking the woman in the eyes, Meg continued to size up the situation.
Of course. I am from the road, so well spotted. How might I be of service?
Both women sipped their tea at the same time, eyeing one another as if there was an unspoken dance at play.
My sisters and I are looking for a woman that rumors state landed in Port Skara. I was very curious if you knew anything or anyone named Megan. We have come a long distance, and I have news of a garment in which she seeks.
Struck momentarily by hearing her own name and the mantle mentioned, Meg quickly recovered, but by the look in the elvish eyes, the moment was caught. Knowing that she had to get what information she could,
I believe you may know that I am Megan Nevarro, but you have me at a disadvantage, for I don't know you. But what is this message?
The smile that crossed the other woman's face was something that made Meg feel as if she were a fly in a spider's web.
That which you seek rests on the shoulders of And the rest of the sentence faded as Meg felt a small pinch on the back of her neck, and the world went dark.
Regos stepped into the antechamber of the Hall of the Jarl and was greeted by a great sight. Dandros was sitting there.
My, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Feels like months since I saw you. How are you doing, Dandros?
With a laugh that was deep and loud. Regos, it's good to see you. It's about time you got here. Looks like the road hasn't been too kind to you. Tell me the latest while we wait. I'll get you in with me so we can both handle our reports to the Crown. Now that the Crown has no choice to listen to them. Clasping wrists, Regos set in on the tail of the winds, the Dragon Roof Inn, the ship ride from Malhavik to Port Skara, and then the attack on Port Skara. Then Dandros told the tale of how he was locked up by the Jarl, but ended up being taken in as a warsmith. By the time they caught up, Dandros was called in. He was preparing himself to square off with Jarl Burduli again, but was greeted with his wife sitting in the throne that was last occupied by the Jarl. Frue Burduli, thank you for the audience. I have brought with me someone else that can testify to what I saw and has news from Port Skara as well. This is Regos Malbroach, Dandros said while bowing his head to the Frue. Frue Burduli's head rose to look over the pair. She remembered Dandros well from the last time in front of her husband. The other man she didn't recognize, but she expected that.
Very good. I would much like to hear from you the terror that has come to my king. Which of you have the latest news from Port Skara? Then we can discuss the goblin horde that has taken the gate at Kheasurid.
Regos stepped forward.
That would be me, Fjera. I just came from there and escaped with as many people as I could. It wasn't me alone, but I can give you some accounts of what transpired there. There were longships and galleons bearing flags at Vultan. From the first ships that landed were dragoons that made a spear formation that carved a path through the city. They had mages with them that targeted military objectives with powerful magic. More soldiers began to fill in from the galleons to make it look as if they were here for a siege and a conquest, instead of just a simple assault.
The war horns of the city did sound, but many of the people didn't know what they meant. It was priests from the temple district that organized the evacuation that transpired. I had a wounded ally, and I made sure that she was out of the city as well. Once I reached the doors with the survivor, we began to work on the doors. They were in bad need of repair, mind you, to start closing them. We held the doors agape as long as we could. Once soldiers arrived, we closed them and barred them. And from the sounds of things, they're working on mining through those doors even now. I estimate around 150 dragoons and a couple thousand soldiers landed here. Now that varies with how much of that last ship was supplies versus people. Frue and Burduli took in the words and considered them greatly. You, Dandros, what more do you have to say when you were here last? My husband didn't give you much time to speak, so here is your chance. With the weight of the words, Dandros focused his mind and gave a prayer to Beldon to ensure that he shared something that would mean the difference between success and failure in his words. He finished his prayers and locked eyes with the Frue, the current ruler of Durg. I fear my words may be a little late at this point. What my intentions was to prepare us for what is moving against us now. The goblin horde was in my warning, but also with that, there's a keeper of the beast that claims to be the Skald of Callisto, reborn. By all accounts, it is a powerful keeper of the beasts, if not the actual Skald. Now, the dragon strike that hit Kievestown could have been by her pool. We were expecting the goblin horde to strike here in Durg, and not one of the gates, however. So my counsel at that time would have helped us mobilize, but it would have been in the wrong direction, I fear. The numbers of these goblins are in the thousands, my Führer, with a powerful keeper at their backs. Now reports of the dragoons striking from the north points to the portion of things that I did not wish to be true. I fear that Callisto is back, or will soon be back. His forces moved to prepare for his return in either case. Now to play the counter to the argument. It could just be some 300 years after Callisto's fell that the denizens of Devolted wanted some revenge on the state of the kingdom for the past 300 years by striking us hard. If it is just a military strike and nothing more, then we have less to fear. But I would not be willing to take that bet. Dandros finished and gave another bow of respect to the Lady of Durg. Friar Burduli walked back and forth upon the dais from which the throne of Durg stood. She pondered in the words of both Regos and Dandros with sincerity. After a few moments, she began to speak without looking at them, still in her movements. So we have wolves at one gate and a military force at the other. They have my husband if the emissary of the Devolten is to be believed. But in other news, it has been decided to reform the military of Edius. So troops will be marching here to aid us from the south. We have fortifications that we can deploy in the tunnels that lead to the city, many of which have not been used in ages. They want to put us in a siege. Very well. We shall show them why you do not attempt to pull a snapping turtle from its shell. I thank you both for your reports. I have another point of business for you, Dandros. Stopping in her movements, Frue Burduli looked directly at him. I need you to focus on your training. It is the most important thing you can do at this point. How goes your training? Have you found your craft again? Dandros was taken aback by the sudden change in direction. Yes, I believe my craft is what's called a warsmith. Someone that focuses on crafting materials at hand and imbues them with magic to provide extra potency. It seems to be something of a dying art, at least in this age. The last recorded warsmith was during the time of Callisto, and was the ancestor of Grandmaster Corey Melchior. Grandmaster Melchior has taken me under his wing. I will focus on my studies. You have my word on that, Führer. If there's a call for my services,
I will be at your disposal.
Very good. And you, Regos? What is your craft?
Frue Burduli asked Regos directly. Fearing that the truth was the only way through, I should be a wizard, Frue. But I was expelled from Forbidden Abyss. I still feel that is my craft, but it's been a struggle to improve over the years since my expulsion. Aside from that, I've made my way with less than savory skills and tasks. You can say that I'm a stealthy individual and that can slip in and out of places with ease, but that isn't my craft. I'm a wizard, even if the council would not honor me with such a title. Truth was something that Frue Burduli was hoping to get out of him.
Very good, Regos.
Then I have a task for you as well. I have a court wizard that I'd like you to work with, to see if we can't bolster your abilities before we need them. I fully suspect having even one more wizard in our fold will make a big difference between success and failure in the upcoming assault. Her name is Vera Klopt. I'll arrange for a meeting for you in the morning. I expect dedication here. Do I have your word?
With a bow.
Yes, ma'am, you do. I'm honored by such trust, Regos said with a deep bow of respect. Back at the Purple Tankard, Jaina had gotten her belly full and was on her third tankard of ale, wanted to get a bath herself, but didn't want to go anywhere until Meg was back, so Regos had time to report his findings to the Crown of Durg. The old woman Maggie had moved on now as well, leaving Jaina in the Purple Tankard all on her own with just a frog to keep her company. She called over to the barkeep.
Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you? Another tankard?
Jaina smiled at the goblin. No. I'm good on that front. I'm curious about a place to stay. With the influx of refugees in the city, I'm concerned that many of the main thoroughfare locations will be booked. Could you offer me some suggestions on a place to stay? Also, I'm sorry, I haven't caught your name. Goblin smiled at Jaina.
Gimble, ma'am. My name's Gimble. How many people do you have that need a place to sleep? I might be able to get a room or two ready for you myself. But it's not, I recommend cleanliness bedtime. It's not your typical inn. She mostly does longer stays and such, instead of just overnight. I'd point you her way. It's going to be much nicer than what I have to offer. But if you're just looking for a place to lay your head, I'll be able to take care of you. Why don't you go ahead and get yourself a bath as well? I'll be here if your friend comes back.
Jaina smiled at Gimble. Thank you for the offer and the information. I'll see if Tina has a room for us. If not, we'll take you up on your offer, if you have 2 rooms that would suffice for us. Thank you for your hospitality. I think I will take you up on your offer of keeping an eye out for Meg. I really could use a bath. With that, Jaina left and boarded Holly at the city stables and headed for a bath. When she arrived to the bathhouse, there were guards talking to the proprietors of the public bathhouse. Jaina didn't pay too much attention to the discussion, too focused on the bath at hand, but she caught a brief description of a woman in dark green robes. As Jaina entered the bath, she began to look around for Meg, and didn't see her. Too tired to think about it, she slipped into the bath and began to relax a bit and clean up. Little did she know she was bathing in the same spot that Meg had been in just 20 minutes prior. The guards were indeed talking about something that was vitally important to her, but her aches and pains were being washed away. She had almost died, and this was something that was hitting her now. She knew this road would be a harrowing one, but to be challenged like that so soon in the journey was concerning to her. The time with Meg on the Seaward Snail had helped Jaina quite a bit. The clashing of blades with her was something that made Jaina's routines
a breath of something new. Everyone that she clashed blades with prior to this were just of the same rugged methodology that she shared with them. They were all followers of Halis. Thinking of Meg made Jaina come back to the present. There was someone talking to her. A female dwarf. "Miss, have you seen this woman?" The dwarven woman was holding up a small image of Meg in clothes that Jaina didn't recognize, but it was Meg nonetheless. "Yes, that's my traveling companion Meg. We arrived in Durg this morning. What of her?" The image shifted to another woman in green robes. "How about this woman? Is she a companion of yours as well?" Jaina looked at the image of the woman. She could confidently say that she had never seen the woman before. "No, she's not with us. Why? Has something happened?" The guard nodded slowly. "Yes, I regret to inform you that your friend might be in trouble. She fell in the lobby and was gathered by this woman and taken to a wagon. There was a number of women driving. No one got a good impression of her to gather an illusion. But we believe it to be an abduction. When you are dressed, if we could discuss a few things, to get a better picture of things, that would be good. Could I count on you for that?" Meg abducted. I can't think of why she would be, but sure. Let me finish up here and I'll be right over. With that, Jaina hurried and finished her bathing quickly and got dressed. The range of questions and illusions shown painted a picture of Meg being abducted all right. Who were these women, though? That was a question that Jaina didn't have an answer to. Good news was, they couldn't leave the city with it being under siege, so they had time. But how much time? If they wanted her dead, they could have done that here, instead of away from sight. That meant they wanted her alive for some reason. Lore Corner. Teas and Tells. They have great tea, great books, and cats. What's not to love? Skooma. Teas and Tales is a tea shop that is frequented by Skooma. It is known for a wide selection of not only teas, but books gathered from around Caledria. If truth be told, these would be enough of an attraction for most. However, to take things one step further, they also have several cats that roam around the shop, typically finding spots in laps of patrons. The shop is lined with books from all around Caledria with lots of places to sit down with a good book and an optional lap cat. It would seem that the place holds an enchantment on it, keeping it warm and a comfortable temperature regardless of what the temperature is outside. The air is charmed with music to keep the place relaxed. There are a few things that are a bit out of place, however. Mounted on the walls, you will find a bow with a single arrow, a pair of kukri crossed, a very fancy-looking spear, a weathered and tattered book, and a very plain-looking sword that seems to hold an edge after years of lack of use. These are items that the owner, Vin Cortison, hold from his past. Now, Vin isn't much of a cook, but is known for having scones. Some of the scones that Vin makes are more savory scones, such as the signature scone for the Tea and Tales is a cheddar and chive scone. Like most scones, it's buttery and flaky, but the flavors come through. And well, travelers, that is where I will leave you. We have a lot going on here. The siege of Durg has begun. The Council of Edius has voted to reform the military of Edius, but is it in time? Refugees pile in to Durg. What will that mean for their resources? What is the fate of Meg?
Now that we have Jaina up, we lose Meg? What will be the decision of the Frue of Durg, and what actions will she take? We have many questions here. Unfortunately, travelers, you'll have to wait for those answers to some of these questions, as we will be doing a bit of a palate cleanser with the story that we are telling, and we have reached the end of the second arc of the Calmbringer cycle. The next episode will be a standalone story that I wrote years ago to share with you. Enjoy this intermission. It will be called The Gardens of Tybor. I hope you enjoy this intermission story as I continue to build this world for you. I want to thank Adrian Von Ziegler for the privilege to use his music and make the story all that much better. For this month, travelers, I will be making a cheddar and chive scone from the T's and Tails. You can find the recipes of Calidria up on patreon.com. With that said, I want to thank you for listening. If you wish to support the podcast, giving it a rating where you find it would mean a lot. A simple thumbs up or a subscription on YouTube. If you want to support a bit more and get the recipes of Calidria in your kitchen, as well as additional lore content, please support me over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/goldenimpin. Signing up will give you access to our Discord server. I hope to continue building a great community over there. But I can only do that with you. So why don't you join us and join the conversation? If you want to follow me outside the podcast space, you can find me over on Blue Sky at Empress Skald. With that said, I am Joe Craig, the Empress Skald. Thank you for listening. And remember, you've been scalded.